A gripping crime story that involves a church youth group on a cross-country trip and ends up with one man dead and another, a pastor, now about to be tried for murder. Exactly what happened and how remains in dispute. But even prosecutors appear to have changed their minds about the evidence. It's part of our series, Crime and Punishment.
Everything I did that night was in self-defense.
He's a California youth pastor.
We need Jesus.
A beloved community leader. A married father of two, now charged with murder. But was it self-defense?
All I was doing was protecting.
For 35-year-old Robert Cox, a brief stop in Las Vegas on a mission trip cross-country has turned his life upside down.
I just can't believe this is happening.
It was 1 year ago tonight that Cox, along with his wife, kids, and more than a dozen interns, stopped at this sports bar for dinner. Cox says they were in the parking lot when Link Ellingson, a towering stranger, suddenly approached the group and began to aggressively harass them.
He said, "Hey, girlfriend, you want to F with me?" The man that approached us. And Rob immediately was like, "Oh my gosh, no." Backed up. "I have kids here. No." And the man said, "Well, I'm coming to F with you."
When we came in contact with him, I felt all of us were in danger.
Cox intervened, he says, to protect them and push Ellingson away. Other witnesses who were there back up Cox's account, including intern Kelly Lane.
He assaulted 5 of us multiple times before Rob could even get his arms around him to push him back. And unfortunately, when he was pushing him back, they tripped and fell.
Ellingson's head hit the pavement. The police arrived on the scene, and Cox says it was then he found out Ellingson was injured.
We actually came around him and prayed for him.
He eventually fell into a coma.
He couldn't swallow anymore. He couldn't tell me he loved me.
But initially, it seemed the authorities believed the accounts from the church group witnesses. The local DA even wrote a letter at that time informing Cox and his parishioners that no charges would be filed. Then, 6 months later, in December of last year, Ellingson died, and everything changed.
I've never had such heartbreak that I had that day.
It was at that point the authorities took a new look at the case. And last week, nearly a year after the incident, the police showed up at Cox's church doorstep with an arrest warrant for murder.
And 3 police officers came in and said, "We need to talk to you." And they arrested me. And I said, "Well, what's going on?" They said, "You have a warrant for murder."
The coroner ruled the death a homicide, finding that, quote, blunt head trauma from assault was a significant cause of Ellingson's death. Prosecutors even alleged in court documents that there was, quote, premeditation and deliberation, and that he punched Ellingson in the face. But why was he suddenly being charged now? Prosecutors focused on what they allege was a discrepancy between Cox's verbal and written accounts. Cox said he punched Ellingson, but in written testimony that followed, Cox claimed he only grabbed him by the waist and that they both fell to the ground.
"Vindicate me, O Lord, for I have walked in my integrity."
He was released on bail this week and emerged holding a Bible.
I could just explode right now. I want to hug my children and my wife. That's all I was doing was protecting, and I love you. I just can't wait to see them.
How many witnesses are you going to have?
Today, Cox appeared in court and pled not guilty.
I'm focused on my case, my innocence. My strength is my family.
Former prosecutor Nancy Grace believes that initial letter from the DA will be crucial.
The single most important fact is that the elected district attorney writes the family, "There are no charges. You're free to go."
But the DA did say in that letter that they, quote, retain the right to file these charges at a later time if facts and circumstances warranted it. A camera did capture much of the altercation, but according to the police report, the fight went out of view for the crucial moment when the police believe Cox hit Ellingson. How do you get a conviction against a youth pastor with his youth group traveling around?
The only way I think there can be,
witnesses are saying was not the aggressor.
The only way I think that there can be a conviction is if the medical examiner report shows that there was blunt trauma on more than one side of the head. If they can show that there are enough traumatic injuries to Ellingson, the victim's head, that could not have come from a fall alone, they may have a shot.
But members of Pastor Cox's youth group are expected to testify in his defense.
He's got a slew of eyewitnesses. It's going to be the eyewitnesses versus the prosecutor in this case. And I think the youth pastor is going to carry the day.
ABC News reached out to the Clark County District Attorney's Office, but they would not comment. The entire incident has left the Ellingson family devastated.
There are definitely pictures that I don't want to keep in my head.
I really do believe that this is a very weak case.
Nancy Grace thinks that this is a very weak prosecution case.
It's going to boil down to this. When did Ellingson, who by all accounts was the initial aggressor, when did he turn into the victim in this scenario? Or did he?
I'm innocent, and I only acted to protect my family, myself, and my students, and never intended to hurt anybody.
Cox is scheduled to be back in court on July 2nd.